Hey guys, Scott here. Let's talk about the Jason reveal for Dead by Daylight. Now, I want to talk about the killer itself, but obviously we don't know anything until Tuesday, so all I can really cover is the way that they actually decided to announce to people that they were going to add him to the game with this crazy ass marketing campaign. I am so split down the middle on how I feel about this. On the one hand, I think it's a genius marketing technique because they have such a weird basically ARG thing happening, but kind of nothing really happened for a long time. So it kind of pissed people off too. But when people get pissed off about it, more people talk about it, which causes it to be trending more, which causes more people to investigate it. Which like it's a loop of marketing that basically perpetuates itself to get more and more people to watch it and talk about it. Now, I think overall I'm leaning towards this having been a good idea. Now, it did piss a lot of people off because I think the major mistake that they made, and I think a lot of people agree with this, is they should not have announced this stream. They said that something will be happening at 9 p.m. Eastern, so we were all thinking, okay, for some reason they're doing a killer reveal like really late at night. So people in Europe got up, poor Oz was up at like 3 a.m. trying to like see if something could happen, and as we know now, nothing happened for 13 hours. So that, I think, is the major mistake they made. If they just threw this on the internet with no explanation, they could have let this shit run until PTB, until Tuesday. And I think that would have been a really, really, really good way to do it. But the fact that they announced it and then it was this on top of that kind of puts a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. I don't personally care. I think this was pretty interesting and it got a lot of people talking about stuff and it was a pretty good way to do it. But I think the major mistake that most people will agree on here is they should not have announced it beforehand. It should have been one of those things that someone just, tweets out, hey, DBD is streaming this on Twitch randomly. What the hell's going on? And then more and more people just naturally filter in until we start trying to figure out what's going on. So I think that would have been a better way to do it. But the whole thing was sort of interesting because they kind of misled people very frequently. Like when it first started out, we had like a gunshot and bird sounds and people just walking in the distance and stuff like that. We had people tweaking out over the trees moving slightly because it was like layered footage on top of itself. Kind of cool how they did it. But then we had weird misdirect things that are not very Jason-esque. Like, I don't know, the pictures in the woods that they were showing were more like Slender Man related vibes. The glitching was kind of more Slender Man. But then we had like the sounds of partying and stuff like that, which is way more Jason. And we didn't have any like sounds of like a lake. So people were thinking, Camp Crystal Lake would obviously be the map. But we've since learned with the reveal of the final frame here that it's not technically Friday the 13th that we're actually getting. We're getting Jason. So it's it's somewhat similar to how like the ghost face is just the ghost face, and that's kind of it. It's not the Scream IP or anything like that. So I think that's just because the licensing issues, as I'm sure you guys know by now, Friday the 13th is just ripe with a massive amount of licensing issues. So it seems like Behavior got the whole new Jason universe thing instead of like the old actual Friday the 13th, because what's happening is Jason and Friday the 13th are two separate IPs right now. So they kind of had to pick and choose, and I'm assuming getting both of them is sort of a non-starter. So they had to just pick one, and obviously you would pick Jason over like, having Tommy Jarvis and like, the map of Camp Crystal Lake and all that stuff. Obviously Jason is more important than that stuff, but it is also kind of a bummer too, because fans of Friday the 13th are going to be pretty upset that you're kind of just getting half a chapter because it seems like we're only going to be getting a killer. Now, it is entirely possible that we do get a custom survivor, like a unique survivor that developers have made, because they're not going to be able to get the rights to any characters from Friday the 13th, the actual series. So it's going to have to be something either uniquely that Behavior made or just nothing at all, which would be pretty disappointing. And I can also assume we're not going to get a map with it. It's possible we get like a Timu Crystal Lake with like, a lake, because we don't really have like a lake map, so that could be something, and that would be new and interesting. There's not really even like water very prominent in this game, so that could be something new, and I think licensing wise could be fine if they just did like a Walmart version of that. But for the most part, I think we're just gonna get Jason. We're not gonna get anything else, which is kind of disappointing. Again, I don't really care what the IP is as long as the actual killer is fun and the killer is balanced well and doesn't cause people to disconnect every fucking game so I can't enjoy them like Henry. That's really all I care about. So it's Jason, is Slender Man, it's Pennywise. I don't care what it is. As long as it is a good killer for the game, I will be very happy. So we're going to have to wait to see until Tuesday how they actually do on that. But this whole marketing campaign again, people are freaking out about this, and I have to, like, not to be on behavior defense force now, but some of the people going in on this are just children. There are people saying that everyone involved in this campaign, this marketing campaign, needs to be fired, lose their jobs and stuff. If you legitimately believe that, you are a fucking child and you need to grow up. This is not behavior content creator program ass kicking, or kicking. Should be that too, but ass kissing. It's just, I'm an adult. I don't know. Like, thinking someone to lose their job because you stayed up a couple of hours late on a Friday night. Geez, my God, shut the fuck up, you whiny baby. Now, I get being disappointed. That's a completely separate thing. If you're disappointed about this because they did say, hey, tune in at 9 p.m., something's going to happen, and then nothing happens for 13 hours. If you're disappointed, completely fair explanation or rationalization, and honestly, I can be right there with you because I think this should not have been announced. If this wasn't announced, this would have been so much cooler. But that's one thing. I'm not even talking about people just being, disappointed with it. It's the people that are like legit vitriolic on Twitter, just filled with so much hate for this. They've never seen such disrespect to the community before. Like, really? This is the thing that you're choosing as the site of disrespect from behavior from before? I feel like they've done a lot more disrespectful shit to the player base before. This, I think, was a nothing. This was not like a huge deal. But overall, I think this is, I don't know, like, that's just like the community sentiment. Personally, I think that this was fine. I would err on the side of this being a smart marketing decision, because we're not going to really remember the 13 hours of boredom. We're just going to remember the very last minute where Jason was revealed. And although we're going to have like one of those like moments where it's traumatized a fandom with one image thing, just with the picture of this shack, that's probably going to happen. I think people are going to be more excited than they are mad about it. And the fact of the matter is they had a shit ton of people watching at 3 a.m. There was like, across everybody streaming this on Twitch, there was like over 100,000 people watching this. So again, in terms of just purely a marketing standpoint, I can't really fault them for it because it did draw a lot of attention. I love when they do ARGs like this. ARG is like alternate reality game where basically the community comes together to piece together some weird thing that's happening, usually typically outside of the game or like some external media or something like that. So I love those. And that's kind of what this is. People were going insane. The amount of schizo posting that was going on. People were starting to think that certain birds meant certain things were about to happen. The guy in the background, it's just like the amount of silly shit that was coming out of it. I think the memes that will come out of this are far greater than the people that were disappointed that they stayed up late or got up early or whatever for something that took way too long to get to the natural point. I think this could have maybe lasted 3 hours, ended at midnight. That would have probably been better if they wanted to announce it, or just not announce it at all and let it run for as long as you want and get people talking about it. But overall, I still think this is a pretty good way to market it. I'm excited to see what's going to be on the PTB on Tuesday. I'm more excited about that than anything, to see if the killer is actually done justice, because if there's any killer in Dead by Daylight that should be done justice, especially by the developers who love horror, it's got to be Jason. So at the very least, I think we're going to get a killer that has a lot of love poured into it. Will it be balanced well? Will it work correctly? That remains to be seen until Tuesday. But overall, I think this is a pretty interesting way to do it. They should not have announced it, but I think it's not the cataclysmic fuck you to the community that a lot of people are claiming it is. It's just not that serious. I think just turn it off if you weren't liking it. I don't know, but that's going to be it for me. We'll see what's happening on Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.